The age of AI is upon us. That's a quote from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. And today we're talking about something that is extremely topical right now, artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT, and specifically how it could impact water management. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the latest edition of QTalks, an on-demand series of conversations around the future of water powered by KTM. My name is Tom Freyberg. I'm an environmental journalist and content creator specializing in water, and I'll be your host for the next 25 minutes. So it does seem in the last few months the world has gone completely ChatGPT mad. For those of you who are perhaps unsure or haven't heard of ChatGPT, it's an AI chatbot developed by OpenAI and released in November 2022. In just 5 days, it had 1 million users, 1 million. By January, 2 months after launching, it reached 100 million active monthly users. Financially backed by billions of dollars from Microsoft, ChatGPT is putting AI in the hands of the general public, allowing human-like conversations and the ability to write essays, emails, code, and much more. Already feared by university lecturers marking student essays, it's not been without controversy, which we will talk about. Early this month, even Elon Musk and other tech leaders, including Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, signed a letter demanding a pause into AI research beyond ChatGPT-4. For a fear it's becoming too powerful. But what does this really mean for the water sector, which is admittedly perhaps a little bit skeptical of AI? So it's worth checking out a white paper produced by the KTM Advisory Board, two of which are on the call today, entitled AI and Water, What Utilities Need to Know Now. And to really pick this apart a bit further and get some genuine expert viewpoints, we've assembled two of the paper authors as well as another sort of digital AI expert here today. So I'd like to welcome Gigi Karmous-Edwards, the CEO of Karmous-Edwards Consulting. Gigi, good to see you again.
Thank you.
We'd like to welcome Dr. Saša, a digital water expert and utility management services manager at Burns and McDonnell. Saša, good to see you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And last but not least, Professor Christos Makropoulos, who is a professor at the School of Civil Engineering of the National Technical University of Athens, NTUA, and also a principal scientist at KWR, the Water Research Institute in the Netherlands. So Gigi, Saša, and Christos, thank you for joining me. And what I want to do, we are actually going to bring in the viewpoint of ChatGPT into this panel. But before we start, I want to kind of just give a statement and hopefully get a response from each of you, whether you agree and hopefully disagree. And the statement is that there has been a lot of progress recently with the democratization of general purpose AI, most recently with ChatGPT-4 and the potential of plugins. And unless digital startups focused on water learn quickly how to integrate OpenAI with their solutions, they risk being put out of business. Do you agree or disagree? So why don't we throw to you, Gigi, to come in first on that and respond, if you will.
Thank you. That's a great question, and I absolutely agree with that. I think every single business should be looking at what these large language models can do and how to leverage it. And if they don't do that, there could be a risk that these large language models, with the associated plugins, and plugins are these different, very powerful applications that take the large language models sort of as a central brain system and then go out to these different plugins that are very specialized. Like, for example, Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram Alpha would have all kinds of mathematical computations that you could then access through these large language models. And the beauty of this is that you could allow anyone with the ability of having human language to ask these very sophisticated questions through these large language models, and then it will branch off to the different plugins to give you the answer. So in some cases, this large language model could start to replace some of the feature sets that some of these small startups have been providing to their clients. And if that's the case, then you need to go back and leverage what you can from these large language models and then add on top of that so they can still sell their products. So there is a risk. If they don't leverage it, they could be replaced.
So you're of the opinion that basically startups, they have to look at the ability to partner and integrate just... and I've heard the this development of plugins has almost been called the kind of the app store moment on the iPhone 1. We're still at the earlier stage, but the ability to sort of connect with different systems is really what's taking it to the next level. So, Saša, let's kind of get a response from you then in relation to this statement.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I would extend this to anybody who is in a content generation, and that applies to text, graphics, and video. ChatGPT and tools built upon it will fundamentally change how we create content by adding the productivity. So if you are in a content generation business, you will not be replaced by ChatGPT, but if you don't use ChatGPT, others will do it much more efficiently than you. Thus, any startup which in any sense provides content, and if they don't provide content, they don't have much to sell, would need to look at ChatGPT how to improve their performance, at minimum in coding.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw an interesting diagram showing we're not going to get replaced by AI, which is a common fear, but you're going to get replaced by people who can harness AI and the tools as well. Yes. So very good. Christos, let's bring in your kind of viewpoint. Could you say you perhaps throw a bit more caution to the wind on this? Please?
Well, I wouldn't disagree. I would say it like this. To some extent, this idea is not that dissimilar from, let's say, other AI innovations. We have been working with reinforcement learning to control wastewater treatment plants. We have been working with digital twin technologies with the industry. Should startups catch up with these trends? Absolutely. Is there time, let's say, to have technologies mature and the plugins and domain-specific knowledge integrated? I think yes. But what is very important is what Saša suggested earlier on, and I say it also from my work. It's this, let's say, efficiency multiplier effect. So I find personally that I can reach from a first idea to a prototype very, very quickly, perhaps 10 times faster than I used to, by getting ChatGPT to help me capture requirements from physical language and then turn it into code, which, as we were discussing earlier on, I haven't coded for some time, and now I find myself code more and more with the help of ChatGPT. So I think that efficiency multiplier is something that companies need to embrace now, because if they don't, others will simply become much more productive.
Okay, I like how you've phrased that, an efficiency multiplier to sort of supercharge an existing skill within your organization. So now we have a secret guest. They're not joining us on the panel live, but we'd love to get the viewpoint. And that's we want to actually reach out to ask ChatGPT a question. And obviously this is all around the prompt and how you phrase it. So we're going to cut to the video. But the prompt we've asked ChatGPT is, I want you to act as if you are a senior consultant with 20 years experience in water engineering. How do you see the potential of ChatGPT-4 and the integration of plugins to help improve the delivery of water services? So we asked ChatGPT this question, and it responded very politely, as a senior consultant in water engineering with 20 years experience. And it's gone on to say, I believe that ChatGPT-4 has a potential to revolutionize the way we deliver water services. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. There's a couple of key points I'd love to sort of repeat and get your viewpoints, if we can, to the panel. It says one example is that we could develop plugins that allow ChatGPT-4 to analyze data from water quality sensors or weather forecasts, providing real-time insights into the condition of water systems and potential risks. Now, this perhaps doesn't come as much of a surprise, right, in terms of where AI can play a role in water. Would you say, Saša?
So I believe that AI provides ability to look at data in a different way. Traditionally, we had statistical analysis of the data, which is very good at telling us uncertainties and variability of data, averages, and what would happen in the future if nothing changes. but things are changing, and statistical models are not good in accounting for the future change. On the other side, we have the deterministic model, mathematical models, which are very good at handling the changes. We can very easily see what happens in a sewer system and if we add a lift station, but they don't deal with uncertainties and with unknowns very well. Given the same input, you will always get the same output. What large language models are probability functions. They combine both of these approaches, and even though they're a black box, they might provide a new way to look at the data and maybe identify some patterns that we miss either by mathematical models or statistical models. So on the top of data democratization that Gigi talked about, I think there will be new insights found in new patterns that we missed that will come from these large language models.
That's interesting to hear. So these new patterns and insights that using traditional methods we may not have picked up. But Gigi, you've actually referenced a sort of a case study of a utility that has started using ChatGPT 4, right? In terms of analyzing, was it smart meter data? Maybe you could sort of reflect on that.
It wasn't really a utility. It was just me playing around with software, which, just to let you know, I have not developed software in 20 years. I used to be a software developer, and I was able to go and Google Collab Lab and introduce an environment to bring in OpenAI, bring in Pandas, and then bring in a data set by just a few simple lines, upload a data file worth 637,000 lines of AMI data, and it quickly was able to process that within seconds and then give me some averages, I could ask for a specific household, not by name, but just by row, and get all kinds of statistical information very, very quickly. And it did not take that much effort from my part. And so from a democratization process, I think this is very, very powerful. Anyone that had the insights or interest in the insights could quickly get these large language models to provide statistical analysis with data. I would like to make one other point that kind of adds to what Saša said. Imagine, if you will, and this was written, I wrote this in the paper, imagine, if you will, all utilities around the world coming together, the ones that have AMI data, and putting metadata around that. So this is a household of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, in this type of region with this type of weather, for 365 days a year. And they were able to train the model on all of this data around the world. You would have a large amount of data that the physics-based models are not going to be as accurate as the data-driven models. If you have this large amount of data from all over the world with all the different scenarios, that could be extremely beneficial, because then you can create virtual sensors based on all this information. And now we're looking at new ways in water, where the water sector can collaborate together, make things a lot more easy for some of the smaller, less resource utilities to take advantage of this digital data and the digital technologies.
Really interesting. Thank you, Gigi. And I think it's we often talk about the democratization of data and AI without kind of perhaps truly realizing what that means. But I think this has been a good example with ChatGPT and your example as well, where it is, even for sort of non-AI experts and non-technical digital experts, this has the ability to sort of simply consume and analyze and suggest actions on huge quantities of data as well. So, Christos, let's come to you then, just for a sort of reflection on the answer by ChatGPT 4 on its ability to improve water.
Sure. I would like to make perhaps react to Saša's and then Gigi's insights. So on the first part, I think my feeling, although I agree with the statements, I think the uniqueness here is that large language models, of course, are an interface between the vagueness but also the richness of physical language and, let's say, the detailed computations of either physical or statistical models. So I think we in the water sector, we would still need to find, and I'm sure we will very soon, use cases for such for this translating ability. So things like creating more interactive training scenarios for operators, or more open-ended, let's say, scenarios, future scenarios, world views, like Saša was saying, where you can specify, if you like, the future that you want to test against your models in natural language, and then the model translates it into computations that your usual models, either physical or data-driven, can assess. They can do, certainly, I imagine, sentiment analysis on social networks much faster than we can now, or even to some extent, possibly play a role in this huge holy grail of AI, this interpretable AI arena, which is difficult, challenging. So opening a bit the black boxes and providing a human explanation of what the black box is doing. We are not there yet. We've tried it a bit. It's not entirely, it doesn't entirely work like this, but I can see this happening. So I think this is very important, and it's really powerful. Of course, that is on top of this efficiency increase that we were talking about earlier on. So I think that would be my feeling of where most of the use cases come from this, let's say, language to model translation, if you like. And of course, the increase of the ability to pose open-ended questions, as we do in conversations, and then get this translated quickly into a suite of numerical, algorithmic, let's say, investigations. So it's a slight retake of both answers, but so I agree with them. I'm just presenting them in a different way, I would say.
Thanks, Christos. So obviously the need to find more use cases on where this is having a positive impact is definitely going to help with the acceleration of the use of generative AI. So we've talked a lot about the potential benefits and even naturally ChatGPT for saying its own merits about how it can benefit the water industry. But let's just, for the kind of the next section, just talk about the potential risk for water companies looking to partner with ChatGPT and the plugins, and maybe the downside. I think whenever the very term and phrase AI is quite emotive, people generally tend to instantly think of the Terminator films and Skynet, but actually, what could this mean in terms of kind of the potential downside and risk for water companies specifically? Let's come to you first, Saša, if we will.
Sure, no problem. So all of these productivity generating tools hide some assumptions from us. So maybe to explain this would be nice to step way back and think of how computational engines changed when we moved to computers. When we did computation by hand, we thought very carefully through the assumptions that go in. But today I might get a model of water distribution system that doesn't have any demands on half of the system. And if I go back to the modeler, then say like, no, that's right. That's what I got from GIS. Or a model that gets negative pressures because that's accurate calculation given the assumption that demand can be taken out. With ChatGPT, when functioning properly, we will now get disintegrated with the data and we'll just get interpretation of the data that we have to be very careful about. But if we are careful about it, if we think about the assumptions that go in the models provide good results. If we think of all the assumptions that will be built in ChatGPT, and I don't know them all, and some of them will not be obvious or even visible at any time, I think there aren't big risks beyond just jumping on it and accepting results as true without thinking about that.
So obviously the devil is in the detail of checking the output and actually what's behind that. So
understanding the output.
Fully understanding it, yeah, exactly. Gigi, let's hear from you then in terms of the potential risk and the downside here with this huge acceleration with ChatGPT.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, and it gets very philosophical very quickly because, and these large language models, I mean, what they've been trained on is the whole human existence on the internet, basically. All the textbooks, all the major websites. So they have an understanding of the way human behavior, and they're gonna be way smarter than us very, very quickly in something they call general artificial intelligence, AGI. And once they get to that point, I mean, philosophically, this is a very interesting mind game to play, like how we humans think of an ant, and an ant from the intelligence level. Like, for example, when my husband and I built this house, we did not really concern ourselves with the multitude of ant houses that was on this piece of land before we built the house. We just, dug it up and started building our house because their level of intelligence is not as great as the human beings. And so we kind of treated them as if they're, less beings than humans are. Imagine this is going to be 1 trillion times smarter than the average human. What does that mean in terms of it's getting smarter and smarter and its goal is to solve problems? And maybe one of the problems, in order to solve it, they have to do something with the whole human race. That's the scary part. And that, that is one of the reasons they want to put a pause on, this training of something greater than ChatGPT 4, because we have to put the right guardrails in there. We are not going to be in control. In a very short period of time, this AI system could be in control of us. And we need to understand how we're going to coexist with these AI systems. We can go down a rabbit hole on the philosophical conversation, but it is very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I think we should do a follow-up QTalks just on this side of things. But when you say AI in terms of control, again, it's not the red-eyed robots walking down the road. It's actually AI creating 1,000 different social media accounts, all around the centralized message to try and influence opinion and inform that type of thing. So it's hugely interesting. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think the ant analogy is great and also quite scary as well. So, Christos, your thoughts on this, and in terms of the kind of the potential downside and risk.
Yes, so I completely agree. It's worth having another conversation on this side and alone. I think I'll pose 3 points for discussion or thought on this. Coming much earlier than general intelligence and the scenario that Gigi proposed. One is related actually with a very positive, very true comment that Gigi made in the previous question about an increased ability to pull limited data sets together and train AI models in areas that we traditionally don't have that much data, from water demand to asset management. We have been talking about this for a long time, how we could use data-driven models trained on small data sets that each water company has, and then come up with something that can really solve everybody's problems. We have always bumped into issues of ownership and trustworthiness and so on. But now this is happening. Implicitly, it is happening. We are all feeding the same models data, and it is learning, Gigi said, on the sum of human experience, certainly soon enough on the sum of the data that the water sector has. Now, this is of course a positive thing in a sense, but the issues around ownership and trust and so on have not evaporated. We just can't see them anymore.
Right.
The second point I would like to make is related to your question, Tom, to the ChatGPT model. So you asked it to be a consultant with 20 years of experience. So just running with this a bit, that's like us, but just 5 years less experience than I am. If water companies thought that actually prompting ChatGPT, asking it to be an expert in water, can make up for expertise that they have in-house or expertise they get from outside, and that has an impact on the expertise of the personnel in the water company, that would be a problem, I would say. And that is not something unique to the water sector. It will certainly affect the way we educate our young engineers and universities, how they do the work, how we train experts in the future. But what I'm saying is that this leveraging is great, provided that it doesn't mean you lose expertise in-house. You allow expertise to be lost in-house, real human expertise, that is, so that your experts are able to interpret results, like Saša said, of these models that pretend to be water experts. A third and final point is around the point about misinformation and the accounts. Now, this is a very important one, and it's not that down the timeline. The water sector is a critical infrastructure, of course. It's not unique in that sense. There are other major critical infrastructures. And as critical infrastructures, all of these critical infrastructures, including water, are targets to cyber attacks, for example. And we need to pause and think how much, let's say, more powerful these cyber attacks can be with the type of social engineering tools that AI abilities of this kind can bring to the table. So clearly this is not a problem unique to the sector, nor can the sector address it alone. But in combination with other critical infrastructure operators, I think there needs to be some serious thought behind this.
Absolutely. Any kind of mission critical industry, needs to put safety and cybersecurity absolutely fundamental as a priority, right? So that needs to be given a lot of careful thought of integrating any AI system, particularly ChatGPT. So, unfortunately, we've sort of reached the end of this QTalks. I definitely think we should do a part 2 and a part 3 because when we initially planned this a couple of months ago, we didn't know how popular ChatGPT would become, and since then there's been the plugin change. So lots more to discuss on this subject. As I mentioned at the start, there is a white paper from sponsored by KTM, bringing together some more viewpoints on this that's worth checking out. But a big thank you to our panel of experts, Gigi, Saša, and Christos, for their viewpoints, and hopefully this will help to guide and also spark more conversations at conferences and in more webinars on the topic of how AI can improve water. So thanks to everyone tuning in. And stay tuned for the next few talks, which is going to be around positive communication to build trust in water.